that just doesn't sound polite. You might talk to your significant other like that because that your significant other loves you and is going to be there for you, supporting you no matter what. So some people be like calling girls bitches and hoes to their
Oh
face.
no. That's one thing that ain't there person. There. Neaeaeaea. E-I-E-I-O. Ain't that person ever feel comfortable enough to call me that. And if they did, it was because they was on their way out.
Like I remember like seeing a Twitter feed where like the guys were calling their girl like bitches. They were like, "Hey, bitch." The girl was like, "Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to?" Because that would have been me. Who you, sir?
The New York came out real quick.
Sir. Let's get these hands. But you know what? I'm trying to be a better person. I'm trying to be a better person. I'm working on me. See, I'm calming myself.
Working on it. You look good though. You look blessed. Hey, loves, we are back again with the third installment of our toxic series. You guys had an opportunity to hear a little bit about some friends, hear a lot of bit about some family, and we about to get a whole lot going for the relationships, situationships, and entanglements. August.
So we're going to talk about the 8 toxic traits of relationships.
Yeah.
Let's begin with isolation. If you haven't experienced a relationship like this, I would suggest you not to try it. However, moving forward, let's talk about what happens in these type of relationships. Isolation tends to be like those relationships where the guy will be like, you shouldn't be hanging out with them, but he can't tell you why. Or a woman could do the same. She could tell the guy, like, I don't want you hanging out with your friends, but the friends didn't do anything. It's just that they take away their me time. Like, Johnny can say it in that song. All I want is me and you time. No, what is it? Hold on. Pause. What is the song? Jane Aiko says in the song, fuck you time, it's me and you time. So it's like some type of relationships that they take everything out of you. They make sure that the person is like stuck to you like glue. For example, right? I was in a relationship where my significant other did not like me associating with friends. He didn't want me associating with coworkers, no friends, nobody. And I basically cut off all my friends because of the relationship. And he would only allow me to talk to my family. And that was an interesting couple of years, yeah.
I have also had an experience in which my partner isolated me from the people that I love the most. And it comes with those negative talks about the people. It's like, oh, they don't care about you, or they try to find a reason why the people that you're closest with, why they're bad. You know what I mean? And that's just a trick from the enemy to set you up for failure, because usually isolation is one of the first things that abusers use. This is a tool that they use to get the victim in a helpless state. You know what I mean? So I have also been in an example or a situation where the person that I was with made me feel like the people that I love the most didn't love me. And so then I in turn pushed those people away and isolated myself. So when I was in true dire straits, it was like I felt like I had nowhere to turn. That they were my only option. And never let nobody make you feel like they're the only option. Wait a minute now. I said, hold on. I think you need to tap in.
Tap in for that.
Never feel like somebody is the only option and that you have to stay stuck in a situation that you don't have to stay stuck in, baby. Because ain't no Gorilla Glue around here.
That's for sure.
Let me get my sip on. Hold on.
Another trait is negative financial manipulation.
Mm.
And let's talk about that.
Let's go ahead, girl.
Sis, if you think that, them Birkins and those chimneys are worth your self-worth, I'm gonna need you to check yourself. Because at the end of the day, you gotta think about you before anybody else. Them vacations might look extravagant, but you can do it on your own. You don't need a man to do that for you. You don't have to stay in a relationship where you're being utilized or you're being abused through financial gain. For example, when I was dating a person, he would use extravagant gifts to make me want to stay longer. And I didn't realize that I was being manipulated because I was like, oh my God, he feels bad. That's why he spent $3,000 for us to go on vacation. But at the end of the day, he was just minimizing all the actions or inactions that he was taking. And I was condoning it because I had never had anybody give me that wealth or those gifts. And I felt like, oh my God, he appreciates me. Look how he's taking well care of me. But in retrospect, I realized that I was losing myself and I was trying to fit in a box so I could appease him. And I remember being at a point where he would be like, you should leave your job. And I'm like, well, why would I leave my job? But the reason he wanted me to leave my job was so I could become financially dependent on him, where now I had to accept what he was doing. So, with that being said, if you find yourself in a situation where someone is buying your love, Cardi B and Offset,
We ain't gonna say no name, Cardi B and Offset. But we gonna say some names. Yeah, that's crazy. Mm.
you need to really sit back and tell yourself, like, is this really worth it? Like, yeah, I understand that I've never experienced these experiences, but there's a better way. Because once you start, like, going crazy for a person because they doing extra that you wasn't in the beginning accepting, and now you're accepting because these gifts are beautiful, you
Ooh,
start realizing a lot.
ooh, when the attempt to secure the bag goes wrong. Yeah, that's deep. But the third trait that kind of goes hand in hand with the third trait that we were talking about, and that's control. That negative financial manipulation turns into lays over to control, because a person who has some of the traits that we're going to discuss today uses manipulation really in all of the traits. We kind of looked and was like, wow, like it's really manipulation in all of these traits, because if a person is doing these things in a negative way to get gain or to profit or to lead astray or try to convince the person that they're with, you know what I mean? Throwing the ball over there so that they don't see what's going on over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of that is examples of toxic, like that's toxicity. Like, and control was the third trait that we said really lends its hand to all of the things that we're going to discuss. A person can control you, where you go, what you wear, what you look like. And that's just in a physical abusive manner, but using manipulation to get a person to do what you want, how you want them to do it, is a sense of control too. And it's not in a overt or horrible way like a person who's physically abusive, but what they say, I got mind control over Debo. You know what I mean? And some people are like that. Men are like that. Women are like that. Because just because we're women, we don't have to, we're not gearing everything we're saying just toward women. Like, it's men out there who have somebody financially abuse them. It's men out there who have somebody be controlling over where they go, what they do too. Like, it's the same. And having and a person being controlling, ultimately they want to take all the power and leave you powerless, so that you like Tally said, depend on them. You know what I mean? And once they a person has you where they want you, they can kind of manipulate you, they can control you, they can isolate you, they can use things like money. Because I mean, I've never had, somebody give me a trip to the Bahamas for cheating and that, but I mean, I might have would have went one time,
That one time.
one time for the one time. But after that, I would have been like, girl, no, this, you can't do this, because every time they cheat on you, you're going to go all over the world. I mean, fair exchange ain't robbing me, but you're robbing yourself of your dignity and your self-respect.
You are.
And at the end of the day, it feels good, it looks good, but it's really not healthy and good for you, The fourth thing that we said we wanted to talk about, which also it's like they all distant cousins, like all of these traits, they be like, what up, cuz, at the family reunion. But we said jealousy. You want to holler at them real quick and let them know about some of the times or things that you've experienced when you had your little jealous partner or whatever.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, we've always talked about transparency in this podcast, and we've always said that we're gonna be honest about who we were or what we've done.
Always.
So, with that being said, one of my toxic traits that I had to work on was jealousy, because I would feel some type of way. Because to me, if we're in a relationship, that's mine. That's it. That's mine.
Me too. I will cut you.
But
I'm not going to cut you for the law's sake. I'll cut you with my eyes.
So that was something I had to work on. But what I realized is that, jealousy, right? Sometimes it's because somebody's pushing you to that limit, or it's because that person is very insecure. So that's one, actually, like, to be honest, jealousy is very insecure either way. Even if it's kind of called on, like, if you're insecure and within a relationship, you have to really think about why I'm even here. Because if that person's allowing you to feel insecure, they shouldn't even be with you. Because if they really loved you and appreciated you, you wouldn't feel jealousy. You would always feel like, he got me no matter what. It doesn't matter who comes in front of him, who, like, notices her, who is looking at her, how she's dressed, how he's dressed. He's not out here for the streets. He's out here for you. But
tap in. Y'all better tap. Y'all better tap. That's the truth. And jealousy. I'm also the same. Me and you, that's why we did this thing, because we're kind of similar in some. And I don't play by mine.
That's right.
That's all y'all need to know. And but on the other side, and that's toxic, like we said, that's toxic.
That is toxic. We're working on it.
We're a work in progress. I used to be about 20%. I think I'm passing now. So that's a good thing. But I've had people that I was in relationships with be jealous too. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you can tell, like I said, part of that saying negative things about people is because they know that, like, those people really do have you, and they get jealous. Sometimes people can get jealous about, like, how well people love you, or how you have somebody in your life. That not everyone comes from the same background.
Yep.
And it's like, if they haven't had a certain upbringing and they see that you're different and you come from different values or morals or ethics, they could also be jealous of some of the things that you've got to experience that they may not have had. You know what I mean? I've experienced that too. So, jealousy is it can go both ways. I have been both a victim and a perpetrator, and hopefully that working through this and us acknowledging it will allow us to look at a mirror at ourselves too and say we need work too. But yeah, jealousy was really deep. Ooh, the next one. Ooh, we might need a toast. We might need a toast before we talk about this. Red wine when it's close to bedtime. The fifth trait that we said was toxic communication. Whew. Go ahead, Tally. Tell them a little bit about that toxic communication.
Um, so toxic communication, like, you know what, I've heard this on, I've heard this before on a podcast, but I can't remember the name. So we'll put the link in below so you guys can know what it is. In the podcast, the lady says, we learn traits, right, from our family, generational, like how our family speaks to one another. So because you know, for the most part, that your family is dependable and you can always depend on them, you sometimes talk to your family crazy. Have you seen that? Like people talking to their family crazy. You like,
Mhm.
why he talking to you like that, sir? Like,
Mhm.
I don't talk to you like that. Why you letting him talk to you? Then they'll be like, no, it's okay because that's my, that's my brother. No, sir, but this causes a ripple in a relationship. Um, for example, I was in a relationship where the guy, like, he would talk to me weird. Like, he'll be like, oh, if you don't do this, this, and this, like with a little attitude, like he was my mom. And I'm like, sir,
He must have been the first child because they think they can tell everybody what to do.
sir, I need you to take 20 seats back. You not my mama. You not my daddy. You need to calm the fuck down. Like, no, we're not doing this. But that's what it is. Like, toxic communication is like, if you don't know how to talk to people correctly and nobody has ever checked you or told you, like, that just doesn't sound polite, you might talk to your significant other like that because you know that your significant other loves you and is going to be there for you, supporting you no matter what. So some people be like calling girls bitches and hoes to their
Oh,
face.
no. That's
And
one thing that ain't there person. There. Neaeaeaea. E-I-E-I-O. Ain't that person ever felt comfortable enough to call me that. And if they did, it was because they was on their way out.
like I remember like seeing a Twitter feed where like the guys were calling their girl like bitches. They were like, "Hey, bitch." The girl was like, "Who you talking to? Who you talking to?" Because that would have been me. Who
Yeah.
you, sir,
The New York came out real quick.
sir. Let's get these hands. But you know what? I'm trying to be a better person. I'm trying to be a better
Yeah,
person. I'm
yeah.
working on me. See, I'm coming myself.
Working on it. You look good though. You look blessed.
You think?
Yes. But I've also had toxic partners, with toxic relationships, toxic communication, and toxic a little bit of everything.
Mm.
Uh, and a lot of name calling, a lot of shut up, a lot of disrespect. And like you said, if they're emulating behavior of abusive situations that they've experienced or things that was the norm for them growing up, they would think that that's normal, you know what I mean? But that wasn't normal for me. Now, toxic communication was normal for me in an aspect of the stuff that you say and that you hear, you know what I mean? But not in a way of berating somebody in that manner. But like Tally said, just straight out, just disrespectful. And it's like, we never should in a relationship get to the point where we just disrespectful to each other,
Yeah.
because disrespect breeds disrespect. So
Mhm.
if a woman's disrespectful to a man is going to be disrespectful to a woman. If a man is disrespectful to a woman will then in turn be disrespectful to a man. You know what I mean? It's it it it's how, like, I'm gonna give an example, but in a different term. Like, um, I was in a physically abusive relationship, and the person used to always put hands on me. And I then one day got tired of being with hands being put on me, and I put hands back, like hands was being thrown. It was his hands and my hands. And together we had hands. And they were being thrown. And I'm like, oh, you're gonna choke me? I'm gonna choke you. We were choking each other, you know what I mean? And that's how, I mean, it's not funny or I make light of it because it was very a traumatizing experience. But I can look back on it once you move past your trauma, you kind of look back on it like, yo, that was insane. And that was definitely insane. But it's like the person gets so much toxicity, they then start to become it. So the negative talks and the negative things that he said to me, you're fat, you're ugly, and I may have been fat, but I've never been ugly. So, I mean, So I knew it wasn't true, but people will take the things that you're insecure about and you're vulnerable about and use that against you and to breed that toxicity. Like I said, I've seen women do it to men. I've seen men do it to women. When they know they got you down and they know they got you on the ropes, it's easy to bang, in a physical way, in a verbal way, in an assaulting way. So yeah, that's definitely, we've both experienced that. And nobody out there right now who's listening to the sound of our voices should ever have to experience or stay in a situation like that for anything, for any reason. So if you see those beginning patterns starting where a person disrespects you, and it's very easy for them to disrespect you verbally, that's usually where it starts, and then it escalates to, it can be a possible physical situation. So you always want to notice these signs and symptoms, because it can get to a point where it's you can't go back from. So we were talking about toxicity, manipulation. Okay. Now I have a story that I have to share with the world. I'm going to call this segment "The Con Man with the Con Plan." So when I was a new single mom with my kids, they were little. I mean, not even 4 and 5 years old. I had went back up to Philadelphia because I had separated from their dad and I needed to get back to my family because I was isolated from my family. So I go back up, I'm working as a nurse. I have my scrubs on, I'm getting off. I was off for the rest of the weekend. So I was going to get my little lobster tails, my little crab legs or whatever, my little libations or whatever. and and this guy approaches me and he has on scrubs too. And he came fine, tall, bald head. Excuse me, miss. You're really beautiful. He played on it. He saw me. He targeted me, y'all, like a little bullseye with a little dot in the middle. He targeted me. And he saw it and he got me. He got my phone number, and I was 23, so I was young. He was in his 30s. I was like, okay. He said he was an EMC. He sold me all the dreams, but the gag is that he used the tools of manipulation to pull me in, reel me in. He played the part of being exactly who I wanted him to be until I got comfortable with him. And then he got me for a couple G's, chief. A couple G's, chief.
Oh, damn.
And yeah, he stuck me for my paper. Like, he ain't do it with no gun. He said, get down. You know what I mean? Get down and lay down. He ain't say that. He said, excuse me, miss. What's your name? Can I take you out tonight? Oh, I left my wallet. Can you pay? You look real good, and can I stay? I said, okay. He put it on me, and I was like, oh, baby. And that's how the con man with the con plan got me. A manipulator sees you, and like, because I'm a big girl, like certain people who have those traits of like capitalizing or victimizing people and have that mentality, they look and see like, okay, she's a big girl, so she may be a little bit more vulnerable and a little bit more accepting of things because the stigma is a big girl can't get a man or whatever, right? So he looked at that, he saw that, he like, okay, she got on scrubs, so she's in the healthcare profession. He saw a couple dollars before he even knew, and turns out this man was walking around with scrubs and he ain't had no job like Tommy. Like, he got me, y'all. When I tell y'all, I learned, that was one of the most valuable lessons that I have ever learned, was never trust the con man with a con plan. They will put on the suit, they will put on the tie, they will say whatever it is they need to say to get you where they want to get you. And when they come in with that, they're like an attack. It's like it feeds something within them to be able to manipulate. Like, I thought his mom was a doctor. Like, we ain't even gonna go into the whole thing, but it to this day, like, and when I he skated on me twice, but we ain't gonna go there. But when I finally was like, okay, we're done, he called me for years, every year on Valentine's Day. Like I'm supposed to be like wallowing in misery or something. And he
Wow.
calls, I'm like, okay, you come back. But I never would let him back because once I realized like, oh, he got me. Like he really got me. I realized like, yeah, I'm worth more than that. And I will never let somebody play me in that regard. Thousands, thousands, a little bit at a time, little dab will do you. You know what I mean? And I lost a couple people because I felt like it was leading to that. Like I start taking cues, like, why are you asking me? I had one guy go, I want to talk to you, but my phone's gonna be off till next Wednesday. I'm like, all right, call me next Wednesday, Oh, because this big baby right here, you only gonna get to play me once. But anyway, girl, I can talk. Nunu can talk. So the seventh trait that we said was anxiety. I mean, go ahead. I'm gonna let you talk about anxiety.
Okay, so anxiety, right, in relationships, these are the relationships that cause you to get anxious, right? Because the thing is that anxiety is caused by, overthinking your future. So let's say you're in a relationship with somebody and you guys are making plans. You're making plans for the future, and this person is doing the most. And I'm not saying the most in a good format. I'm saying it is doing the most, like all the fucked up shit that they shouldn't be doing. Like they coming home late, they going out drinking with friends. They have girls like in their fucking DMs, inboxing them Snapchat, all that other shit. And now you like, oh, so who need to get these hands? You or them? Who's starting the business? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
who is the captain of the ship? Because whoever it is,
talk to them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you doing the most. Like, I remember being at a point where I was like, yo, is he trying to sucker me? Like, wait, he trying to get me? Because if he think he gonna get me, I need to get him before he get me. I was like doing the whole Medea scene in my head, like, oh, he want to get got. So let's see who want to get got between both of us. You know what I mean? Like, once you at that point, yo, sir, sis, walk away, be like, you doing too much. Like now they done push their like all their bad behaviors on you. So you doing the most and you like super anxious, like, what if they cheated on me? What if they where they at? Where they at? Where they going?
where they at though?
Go to work? You sure you going to work, sir? Like, where you going? No, I don't want you to go. Like, ma'am, have a seat. And I had to be like, yo, I remember being in that point where I was so anxious that I was hyped over everything. And people would be like, Crystal, you're looking for in Spanish is la cinco pata el gato, which means the fifth leg of a cat. And they'll be like, you're looking for this fifth leg of a cat. And I'm like, the cat doesn't have fucking 5 legs. And they're like, no, and you looking for it. You want to catch them. And I'm like, nah, because I need to know. I need to know. So that we both getting got. Because the problem be, they want to be, like in the song, Maluma song, be like, felices los cuatro. That means us 4 of us are happy. They want to be in a polygamous relationship, but they don't want to tell you you're in a polygamous relationship. And you like, I am offering you monogamy when we was all gonna be happy with each other. Like,
oh look, I think you just did a segue into the last thing, resentment, sis. That was with you. Resentment is the last trait. Like that, you literally just said that. So go ahead.
That's how it is. Like, I feel like anxiety leads to resentment. You know what I mean? Like when you start getting over anxious in a relationship where you're like, yo, like, what are you doing? Like, where are you going? Like, and you're over, like, that's like, it really starts off for real. For me, like my jealousy got me to the point where I became anxious, right? And it was all because of insecurities. And then I became resentful because now I'm like, yo, he think he got one over on me. Nah, we're going to be equal. And then it got to the point where we weren't equal because I didn't know if he had gotten me, but I knew I had gotten him. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, here I am being upset. And now
so what you saying? So what you saying is you got the equal sign with the line through it, right?
I ain't know what happened.
We're gonna get t-shirts made with the equal sign with the line through it.
Right.
But when you become resentful, man, a woman with resent, baby, she about to take you through the ringer and the blinger. A person with resentment, man, like, who? Sometimes you get a little hot, sometimes you get a little bothered, and sometimes you get a little hot and bothered, you know. But like, we always like to give all the craziness and the experience up front. And then at the end, we try to make it all come together and make it make sense. So, like we did with self-worth, like we did with the issues with friends, and like we did in our third episode, the issues with family, we want to give some tools and tactics and ways to get yourself out of a situation when you're dealing with someone that's a little over seasoned with some toxicity. So Tally, you want to start the close up for us and let us know some of the things that a person can do that feels like they're in a toxic relationship?
So first you have to recognize that you're in one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, cause if you're like, you know how they say like the blind leading the blind, you in this relationship, you don't even know that you're there. Like, you know what I mean? Like I remember being in the rut of it all and trying to tell my friends, and I'm like, I don't think that this is right. And those friends would be like, well, you just gotta get even. Instead of being like, girl, you know, you deserve better. So they were like, you know, their thing was like, you just got to get even. And I'm like, yeah, I need to get even. I need to
Yeah,
get
right. Even look with the line through the middle.
yeah. Because I recognize that it was toxic, right? But when you like, you're so insecure and you're so like not, you don't want to like really admit what's happening. You go to outside sources, and sometimes them outside sources are gonna tell you like turn a blind eye because that's what they've been taught. And if that's not who you are as a person, you cannot go to those friends that are about that life that you're not about. Because I was all about monogamy and they was all about polygamy.
Yeah. It was like one and one and one is three. Yeah, definitely acknowledgement, heavy on the acknowledgement, heavy on the um realizing that it's happening. You know what I mean? Like we said with anything, sometimes you don't know, you step back. And with that daily, like the advice that we gave in episode one was like the daily inventory, the daily check-in, the daily kind of seeing where you are, and kind of in that self-assessment or assessment of your environment on a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis or monthly basis or whatever you need for you. You need to check that too. Am I displaying any of these toxic traits in relationships, or is anybody displaying these toxic traits in relationships toward me? And once you acknowledge that, and what's your favorite word, Tally? Accountability.
Ability.
Ah,
Right. I love that word.
yes, taking accountability for what the part you play in the toxicity, because um, like I said before, when you're in the thick of it, you know, you smell it, you reek of it. You smell like loud, you know, it's loud, you know,
Wow.
all the things that that's being displayed or being in your environment, you don't even realize. Like a person that smokes, they go out and they come around people that don't smoke and they're like, ooh, you smell like smoke. It's like, no, I don't, because you in the thick of it. You'll smell it, you'll see it, you know. But once you step out and kind of acknowledge, oh, that's where I am, and this is the part I play, you take accountability for the part that you play. You cut ties, you have those tough conversations. Sometimes it can be where you can have those conversations and work through it, and sometimes it can't. Sometimes they've married each other, they're in that toxic relationship, and they go through therapy. Regular couples can go through therapy too, not only married people, with people who are in long-term commitments or know that where they're trying to go is a long-term commitment. In doing the right thing, checking in, you know, expressing yourself in a healthy way, saying this bothers me. I feel like this is going on, and I want to know if this can stop, or if we can work together in stopping this behavior, because I love you. You know, there are people out there that really do love each other and, you know, are just acting out of what they've ever known. In that case, two people can work together. But in a case where it's physically harmful, mentally harmful, and it threatens your sanity, your mental health, your life, whether you feel like you want to take yours or you think they might take it, you know, you never want to tolerate or be in a situation where you feel like you may not make it out. So we're also going to link the domestic abuse hotline number in our description box for anybody out there, man, woman, that may feel like they're in an abusive relationship, and then we hope that if you need help or want to seek help, that we will put that in the description box below for anyone that may be experiencing those horrific things. We've been there, we've experienced it, and we know, it's a difficult thing to go through. But just know our email, theinnervoicepodcast@gmail.com. We would love, and we would always keep anonymous anyone that feels like they need to talk or they want to reach out. And also, we're going to encourage and do some promotion too to help people get some advice, because we would love to give good advice to everyone that's been supportive and out there and watching us. Tally, is there anything that you want to say, or anything that you want to close out with before we say bye, Ty Lives?
I just want to tell you guys, like, at the end of the day, like, when you're assessing yourself, right, you want to recognize who you are as a person. Like, this is where value, like, really matters. And this is why we started with, you know, our values first, like how we value ourselves as people. Because at the end of the day, unless you value yourself as a human, as a person, then you're going to allow people to treat you badly, right? Like, we don't ever realize how bad we're being treated until we see someone we love being treated just as bad. Then we start noticing, like, oh wow, wait, that's a ref. Wait, I'm doing the same thing. Wait, what's happening to them? Like, now, because you love that person so much that you want to take care of them, you want to protect them, but you forget to love yourself. And this is why, like, valuing yourself and, really getting to know yourself and what you're willing to accept and what you're willing to take and what you find to be important is valuable for you when you're going into a relationship. And unless you love yourself, honestly, you shouldn't be in a relationship, because you're just going to be taking somebody else's crumbs when you deserve the world. You're a queen, you're a king, like, you deserve the best. Even if, your environment tells you that you don't, but you have to work on yourself first. You have to, like, be honest with yourself and be like, all right, I want my partner to be at this level and I'm here. Like, sir, ma'am, come on. Like, let's get it together. However, if you're up here and they're down here, you're going to be like, come on, like, you don't want to go down to their level. So why are you aiming low, ma'am? Like, sir, come on, aim for what you deserve. Like, stop trying to, like, change people, because you can't change anybody and they can't change you. You
You
have
change
to
yourself.
want to change yourself.
Yes, that was a good one. Man, we are so grateful and so thankful for everyone that's been tuning in, that's been giving us loves. We've been getting calls, we've been getting so much support. Like I said, please start sending us anonymous advice questions, because later on in the season, we want to do a really good advice episode where we can give advice to everyone out there that may need some insight from us two crazy girls. Yeah. Everything you need to know about us is in our description box. If you haven't liked, comment, and subscribe, holler at us, tell us you love us, give us some good advice or critique. We take that too. And hit that bell notification so you know when we're coming out. And we want to thank y'all for showing us love. Girl, we dressed in all black like the Omen. Have your friends saying this is about Omen. It's relationships, you know what I mean? And stop being entangled with people, child. Y'all ain't never gonna get ugly if being entangled. But we want to thank you guys for
babe.
Right. Think more of yourself. So we love you guys. We thank you, and we out. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.